pushed back, but how's training been going and where have you been working out most?
Training has been great. I actually got a pretty early start on it. I started April 1st. Actually drove down. I was in Fort Worth. The season had just ended and everything was kind of at a standstill. And, my agency, I ended up signing with SAC Sports, Seth Cohen. And, he had taken all the necessary precautions and things like that to provide a safe training environment for me. And I didn't want to risk getting on a plane or anything like that. So I just jumped in the car, packed my stuff up and drove down. And since then we've been going every morning, working out 8 in the morning on court, and then we'll have strength conditioning for an hour, followed by rehab and recovery. I'll go home and relax for a little bit, and then go back and do another shooting workout later in the afternoon. So, it's been good, and I feel like I've touched up on a lot of areas that I needed to, heading into this draft, and I'm excited.
And if you can remind me, where did you drive down to?
Miami, sorry.
Gotcha. No worries about that. And I'm curious at this point, how many teams have you been able to talk to and interview with, and have the Mavericks been one of them?
I've interviewed with, I believe it's 26 teams,
Okay.
just about everybody. I haven't interviewed with the Mavericks. They've called my coaching staff numerous times. I feel like a couple of the teams haven't necessarily interviewed everybody that they have on their list, or I don't know exactly, what approach teams are taking.
Mhm.
Seems like there's interest there, but no interview yet.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Great, thanks. With our next question, we'll go to Dwayne Rankin.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's a lot of teams there, Desmond. Is the Phoenix Suns one of them that's talked to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just what do you think about them as an organization in terms of possibly fitting in there? And then B, what do you feel like you can bring right away to an NBA team?
I love the idea of Phoenix. I had a long, nice conversation with James Jones. And he's one of those guys that was really high IQ, knew his role on the team, could shoot the ball. Brings a lot of similar qualities that I do to a team. I feel like I bring toughness, IQ on both ends of the floor, and shot making. You pair me with guys like Devin Booker and Aiden, who draws a lot of attention, and there's a lot of open shots. Cam Johnson just went there last year, and he had a great rookie year. I believe he shot almost 40% from three. And I feel like I can replicate a lot of that success and bring another wing shooter as well as some toughness to the team.
And just quickly, just to follow that up, I found it interesting in looking at guys who are up for the draft. You had a
Nice
game.
outside.
What's that? You had a game against Iowa State where Tyrese had a big game, and so did you, and you guys pulled it out in overtime. But just your thoughts on Tyrese and what do you think of him as a player?
I love Tyrese. First off, he's a great person. He's a great kid. It shows on the floor with his enthusiasm, and the way he conducts himself. But, Ty's a really good player, can make shots. He plays really well in the pick and roll and in transition. He's one of those guys that, he takes whatever the defense gives him, and if the defense is a second late or makes a mistake, he's making the right read. Really smart player on both ends of the floor. I think, he's going to have a long NBA career.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Great. With our next question, we'll go to Brian Lewis.
Hey, Desmond. First off, thanks for taking the time to do this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm curious where the Nets, if the Nets were one of the 26 teams that you talked to, do you recall who you spoke to and when that was? And I guess secondly, with your shooting and the way you move off the ball, how could you see yourself fitting in with getting good looks and being able to help people like Kyrie and KD, because you'd get a lot of open looks if you were there?
Yeah, I spoke with the Nets very early on in the process. And the interview went great. And like you said, obviously Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to be, focal points of the team. And you got to have guys like Joe Harris who can run around off screens and occupy defenses and make shots away from the ball. That's actually the guy that I study a lot. In the NBA, just because we're similar size. He played 4 years. He's a tough guy. Makes shots off a lot of different movements, can play off of handoffs. and things like that. So that's somebody that I really try to model my game after. And he's had great success in the Brooklyn organization, and I feel like I could have, similar success.
Great, thank you. For the next question, we'll go to Tom Westerholm.
Hey, Desmond. Two quick questions for you. First, are the Celtics one of the teams that you've talked to? And if so, if you just have any thoughts on how those conversations went. And then second, obviously you've got, good size off the ball. Do you see versatility as something that you can bring to a team?
Yeah, no question. I interviewed with the Celtics as well. I believe they were my first interview. I think I was the first interview for 15 of the teams that I interviewed with, and then second, for a good majority of the other ones. So there was a lot of interest early on, and the Celtics were one of those teams, and they play a lot of similar wings. Versatile wings, guys who can switch all over the floor. You saw how valuable a guy like Grant Williams was, a rookie that stepped in and could guard multiple positions. And that's something that I feel like I bring to the table as well. And some off-ball shooting and things like that. Like you said, I have good size for the position, and versatility is something that I hang my hat on. I'm kind of one of those junkyard dog guys, similar to Marcus Smart. It doesn't matter if, I get matched up on a guy that's much bigger than me or much smaller than me. I'm gonna find a way to get it done.
Great. With the next question, we'll go to Aaron Rose.
Hey, Desmond. I'm wondering if there's an area of your game that you've been working on in the offseason.
Yeah, the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of NBA teams, they feel like I can shoot the ball. I defend, I play hard. I'm a smart player on both ends of the floor. This past year I was in a pick and roll a little bit more, and was asked to handle the ball more. Showed a little bit of playmaking skills and things that I couldn't show in the previous 3 years, and that's something that they told me to continue to work on. Depending on the organization and team I go into, I may have to play some secondary, play out some secondary actions and things like that, and be able to initiate offense. So, like you said, or like the question before, pointing to that versatility, being able to play off the ball and on the ball is something that I want to be able to do to provide value early on at the next level.
Have you spoken to the Toronto Raptors, and how do you think you'd fit with their guards?
Yeah, I spoke to the Raptors as well. Toronto was a really, really good interview. I loved their style of play. Nick Nurse is one of the great minds in basketball. Being able to throw different defenses on the fly. The Raptors are one of those teams that's never going to stop fighting. And I feel like that kind of fits my DNA. And with Lowry and Siakam and all those guys, I feel like I could go there and have similar success. Like Terrence Davis, he's a bigger, athletic, strong guard who defends well, plays hard. I feel like I could bring some of those same characteristics to the table.
Thank you. Good luck.
With our next question, we'll go to Jesse Zaragoza.
Hi, Desmond. How's it going?
How you doing, boss?
So after watching film on you, a strength of your game is your ability to catch and shoot and to defend from the perimeter. Shooting a career 43% from three during your time at TCU. In a shooter's-friendly league, how big of an impact do you think you will have for the team that ends up selecting you?
I think that's where a lot of my value comes from. Shooting is obviously a necessity in today's game. You've seen it all throughout the playoffs. The teams who are making shots and the teams who are defending, are the teams that are advancing. And those are two things that I feel like I do very well. And I see both of those things translating to the league and providing value early.
And also, how would you say Coach Dixon has prepared you for the NBA?
Coach Dixon has done a lot for me. I came from a really small school that graduated with 20 kids in it coming out of high school. So going to TCU was a big jump for me. Not just on the court, but off the court as well. And Coach Dixon, he's a fantastic coach, but he's an even better person. And he really, taught me how to be a man, taught me how to go about my business and work hard, every day and whatever that may be, whether it's, in the books, on my game, whatever it may be, just give it 100%. And those are some of the things that I carry with me today, and I can't thank Coach Dixon enough.
All right, thank you, Desmond.
Thank you.
With our next question, we'll go to Kai Carlin.
Hey, what's going on, Desmond? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
All right, I might as well keep the trend going. Out of those 26 teams, I wanted to ask, were the 76ers one of those teams? Were they?
Yeah, the 76ers were. There's been a lot of interest with Philly. We feel good about where we're at with Philly.
Okay, and I guess there's a follow-up on that. Like A, who did you speak with? Was it Elton Brand? And B, what did he talk to you about, like as far as fit, maybe next to Ben and Joel?
So Elton actually wasn't on the call. I think doing most of the talking was Vince, a guy named Vince, was doing most of the talking. And, they feel like it's a necessity, or shooting is a necessity for them. They need a lot of shooting. Obviously the attention that Ben Simmons and Embiid demand is huge. So guys like me are very valuable that can play off of the ball, and make shots, have similar success to, how JJ Redick did and Landry Shamet did, in previous years, running off screens away from the ball. I feel like I can provide some of those things, same things.
Thank you, Desmond.
Thank you.
Great. With our next question, we'll go to Alan Gilio.
Yes, great pronunciation. Thanks. Hi, Desmond. Thank you very much. I was wondering, because recently in the NBA there have been some 4-year starter in NCAA having a really good success, like Malcolm Brogdon, for example, Devontae Graham, Fred VanVleet. Do you have a model, a career model like them? Do you watch film of those guys, for example?
I've actually been in the gym with Devontae recently. He's made trips here to Miami. And we worked out, him being from the Big 12. We kind of share that same connection. I look up to a lot of 4-year guys, because, their paths are usually different. Sometimes they're drafted in the first round. Sometimes they're taken in that second round. And, being a 4-year guy gives you an edge over a lot of the other guys, just given the fact that you have that experience. The Big 12 is one of the best conferences in the country, year in and year out, and I've played big minutes in that league since I was a freshman. So I've seen a lot of things, a lot of different schemes, a lot of different coverages, a lot of different actions, a lot of great athletes. So the 4 years of school definitely prepared me for the next level. I feel like.
Yeah. Who's the best player you went up against during your 4-year career in the NCAA?
I would say Trae Young was probably the best player. He's doing a lot of freedom at Oklahoma, playing off a high pick and roll, making shots off the ball. He had shooters around him, bigs who could run the rim rim run. So he was a tough cover for sure.
Thank you very much.
Great. With our next question, we'll go to Rylon Stills.
Hey, Desmond, I was wondering, of those 26 teams, were the Oklahoma City Thunder involved?
Yeah, I interviewed with the Thunder.
Was Billy Donovan there, or was he already gone?
Nah, he was still on staff when I interviewed with them.
And how could you see yourself fitting in with Oklahoma City?
I love it. I mean, I first off, I love Oklahoma City just as a city. And aside from that, on the basketball piece, obviously what they've been able to do with their young talent and their player development is crucial. I'm one of those guys that loves to get in the gym and loves to work on his game. So being around some people, like Oklahoma City staff, and being able to soak up knowledge and learn from them and play alongside guys like Shea, and other young guys that are coming up, I think it would be huge.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Our next question will go to Richard Harris.
Hey, Desmond, how you doing?
Good, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You've probably heard this 1,000 times, but great shooter, great passer, great intangibles, but not very long, not very athletic. So how do you answer those critics? And what can you do, or what are you doing to, maybe improve in some of those physical areas where you get criticized for?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people don't necessarily know how athletic I am. I feel like after the combine testing, and things like that, that'll be able to help me out a little bit. But as far as my length goes and things like that, it is what it is. I had a conversation with Ryan Miller, the assistant coach, my sophomore year after I came back from the USA camp. And he was telling me how I was an NBA prospect. And he was telling me, I'm not gifted like some of these other guys, and I'm going to have to go above and beyond, if I want to play at that level. And that's why, my attention to detail has to be so great. My motor has to be, above and beyond everybody else's. And those are things that I've trained myself to do. And, it shows. And that's the reason why I feel like I'm in the position I'm in today, is because of, my hard work and my discipline with the game.
Yeah, you definitely check all those intangible boxes for sure. Let me follow up. Related question. The one thing, watching you on film, the one thing I see in your game that's probably missing, and it's not that you're not efficient at it, you just don't do it a lot. So I know you're good with runners and floaters, but going all the way to the rim, you don't do that often, and you're a strong guy. Is there any special reason? Is it just because you really started to master the runners and floaters, or do you think that's an area of your game you really need to do more often, be more aggressive in that area?
Yeah, no question. I mean, once I got to the Big 12, it was obviously a big jump for me. I was playing against, I was the biggest guy on the floor everywhere that I went, so it was just, easy layups. And when I got to the Big 12, I started working on these creative finishes, like over and around the bigs. And not even utilizing my size and my strength, often picking the ball up a little bit too early and taking off from too far, and, having tougher angles at the basket instead of taking one more dribble and, using my frame to go through guys. And that's something that I've been working on, since I've gotten down here to Miami, which will, also, help me get to the free throw line some more as well.
Right. Good point. All right. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you.
Great. With our next question, we'll go to Ferdinand Rivera.
Hey, Desmond from Puerto Rico. Which teams have shown the greatest interest in you? And lastly, when did you start to believe that reaching the NBA could be a reality?
The teams who have showed the most interest, me and my agent were just talking about it the other day. It's still early in the process. There's still a lot to be done, but my agent was like in Phoenix. He was like in Philly a lot, Milwaukee. Who were the other two? And there were two others. I'm sorry. I'm not exactly sure, and I don't want to give you the wrong answers. But there's been a lot of interest across the board. Those were three that really stuck out with him. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Next question, we'll go to Luis Policelli.
Hey, Desmond. You talked about being a secondary guard in the league, but do you think you can play as a primary too, as a lead guard?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel like I can, play wherever the organization puts me at. That's what I've been working on this offseason, just having the proper tools and the proper repertoire to be able to do whatever I'm asked of at the next level. It's similar to how it was in college. My freshman year, I wasn't asked to do much. My role grew a little bit my sophomore year, my junior year, and then my senior year, I'm put in the pick and roll and different types of situations and playing things and doing things that people didn't know I could do. And I feel like it'll be the same way at the NBA level. I'm one of those guys that, it's a plug and play guy. You throw me out there and tell me something to do, and I'm going to figure out a way to get it done efficiently.
Great. Thank you. With our next question, we'll go to Alex Kennedy.
Hey, Desmond. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it. We met last year at the PBC, the Professional Basketball Combine. So I wanted to ask you, I know back then you were considering whether you should enter the draft or go back to school. How much do you feel you improved in the past year?
I feel like it was huge for me. You know, I improved a lot, you know, on the court, but also off the court. You know, I take a lot of those experiences that I had throughout the pre-draft process last year. You know, Jeff Green spoke to us, and it's something that'll stick with me forever. You know, he was talking about his goal was to play a certain number of years in the NBA. And, you know, he's always getting older, and there's a draft every year, and they're bringing in, you know, younger guys every year. So, you know, his attention to detail and the way he works on his game and takes care of his body in the off season, you know, has to be that much more as the older he gets if he wants to, you know, continue playing. You know, and as a player, I feel like I've really improved, you know. Like I said, I was thrown into a little bit more of a playmaking role this year, and, you know, being able to make plays out of pick and roll and make plays off of closeouts is something that I wasn't as efficient in the year before. You know, so I improved in that area a lot. And then my junior year, I was also, you know, a standstill shooter, catch and shoot guy. And then this last year I showed that I can come off of floppy actions, pin downs, and different types of actions, as well as shoot the ball off the dribble, you know, whether that be out of pick and roll and transition, whatever the case may be. So really just became more versatile of a shooter.
And real quick, people have said, with how hard you've worked and your confidence in yourself, what's your reaction when people say, oh, this is a weaker draft class, or they criticize the class? You know, how do you respond to that?
I mean, everybody's going to have something to say. They're going to talk. I try not to pay too much attention to the media. You know, I feel like 10 years down the road, they'll be talking a lot differently about this draft. You know, I played against a lot of these guys and been in front of a lot of these guys. And, you know, there might not be as much star power in this draft, but I feel like there's a lot of guys that provide a role that's needed in the NBA, and will be in the NBA for a long time because of it.
Thanks, Desmond. Good luck.
Thank you. We only have time for a few more questions, so let's go to Brian Lewis.
Hey, Desmond. Hate to follow up on this, but I'm just curious, since the Nets have had 3 head coaches since March, do you have any idea when you talked to them, and do you recall who you might have spoken with?
I can't tell you exactly who I spoke with.
Okay.
It was back in April, that first week, when everybody, you know, could open up on interviews. I believe that was our first interview as well. So it was very early on, and the interest was significant.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. To our next question, let's go to Dwayne Rankin. Dwayne?
Yes, I'm here. Dan, I wanted to ask you just a couple things. One, did Phoenix talk to you last year as well? And then two, you obviously play with a lot of confidence. Where did that come from? Like, was that something that's kind of came through time, or have you always been a confident player?
I didn't speak to Phoenix last year, but to touch on the next question, you know, your confidence comes through your hard work. You know, your hard work and preparation. You know, I spend a lot of time in the gym, so, you know, when I get in the game, nothing is uncomfortable because I've done it all, you know, thousands of times. You know, so that's where my confidence comes from, and obviously once I get to the NBA, it'll be another step up and another level. But you know, if I continue to work the way that I do, I'm sure that that'll remain the same, and you know, the product will be the same as well.
Thank you, sir.
Great. We have time for 2 more questions. Let's go to Chris Grenham. Sorry.
Hey, Desmond. Earlier you mentioned Marcus Smart. You have that similar, you know, high IQ game, hard defensive player. What do you like about his game, and do you see that, you know, defensive skill and defensive IQ translating in year 1?
Yeah, I mean, he's a junkyard dog. You know, he's willing to do whatever. You watch the Celtics play, and you know, he's on the floor numerous more times than anybody else on either team, you know, whether it be taking charges, diving on the floor, talking a little trash to get under a guy's skin. You know, he really thinks the game, and he plays the game with a lot of heart. You know, and that's something that I really try to model. And, you know, I feel like that'll translate. There's 3 things you can control at all times: your energy, your effort, and your attitude. And I feel like Marcus Smart does a great job of controlling those things, and that's the reason why he's carved out a great role in this league, being able to, be a junkyard dog and a feisty defender.
Thank you.
Thank you. With the last question, let's go to Noah Levick.
Hey, Desmond. You mentioned Joe Harris, J.J. Redick. With those guys coming off screens, shooting off movement, what exactly do you try to study with them and try to emulate?
It's all about the footwork, honestly. Seeing how quickly they get their feet down and get their feet pointed to the basket. And then there's also this thing that Coach Miller used to work with me all the time on, and he calls it ABC shooting. So A is wherever you catch the ball. Like, say I catch it here, B is my pocket, C is the release. So, the ball's getting off quick. There's not a lot of wasted motion within the shot. And that in turn helps you get off threes quicker and more efficiently. And those are things that both of those players do extremely well, and that's the reason why they've had the success that